From early childhood, I believed in the miraculous power of friendship. Emily was my guiding star, someone who was always there, like a sister. We shared dreams, celebrated each other's successes, and supported each other through tough times. 15 years is a lifetime, but everything collapsed in one day when I saw my life crumble like a house of cards, tenderly built on a shaky foundation. My name is Sandra. I'm 35 years old, and I live in the bustling and vibrant Chicago, where I work at a real estate agency. On the day a client suddenly canceled our meeting, I freed up an hour in my schedule to take a break. Maybe a movie or a hot bath was just what I needed. But coming home earlier than planned, I stumbled upon a familiar yet unusual item for that time of day: Emily's bright shoes, inevitably noticeable with their outrageous hue. They were there so often they had become almost native. Probably Emily decided to drop by for a coffee, I thought. But then I suddenly heard laughter from the bedroom. Emily's giggle, familiar like our friendship, and my husband Brian's voice. "You're so beautiful," he said, as if these were ordinary words. "Why didn't we meet sooner?" "Because you were married to my best friend," Emily giggled. In movies, cheated wives usually scream, throw tantrums, and hurl things. At that moment, I just stood there, rooted to the spot, staring at a crack in the wallpaper near the bedroom door, a detail of the interior that I'd never noticed before. A memory flared up in my mind, and I recalled how just a day ago I had booked spa treatments for Emily and me. That evening, I came home late, as expected, kissed Brian on the cheek, and asked him about his day. He had the audacity to tell me about important meetings and a new contract. "By the way, Emily called," he mentioned casually. "She's inviting us to her birthday next Saturday." "Yes, she mentioned it," I smiled, knowing I had a special gift for her, and for him too, although they didn't know it yet. It was then that I realized something inside me had snapped. This break seemed to awaken something new, cold, and calculating. Planning revenge is a slow process, especially if you want everything to look natural. The next week, I was the perfect wife and friend. I cooked Brian's favorite meals, inquired about his work, and even signed up for the same fitness club as Emily. "You've changed," Brian remarked at dinner, looking at me suspiciously over his wine glass. "In what way?" I fluttered my eyelashes, laying out duck breast with orange sauce on the plates. "I don't know. Calmer, maybe. You used to be in a rush all the time," he continued. "I've just started practicing meditation," I smiled. "Emily suggested it." And suddenly, Emily began to show excessive initiative, calling to chat, inviting me for a manicure, stopping by with some cream. "Friend, you'll definitely like it." I looked at her and didn't recognize her. She seemed like the same Emily, but her eyes, something about them seemed unusual. That day we sat in a small cafe on Lincoln Avenue. I remember us feasting on pastries here after every session, crying over failed romances. I still keep a photo where Emily is making faces with cream on her nose. It was my phone's wallpaper. "Remember how you helped me with the retake in mathematics?" Emily stirred the sugar in her latte with a spoon. Of course I remembered. We studied probability theory all night. I made her coffee and cheered her up. "Sandra." She suddenly fell silent, toying with the ring on her finger. "Do you remember what we promised each other at graduation?" I raised my eyes to her. So many years of friendship, ups and downs, support and understanding. And now this. "Which one, exactly?" I asked, stirring my coffee. "Well, whatever happens, We will always support each other." I almost laughed. Instead, I smiled softly and covered her hand with mine. "Of course I remember. You know, I'm always on your side." Meanwhile, my plan was already being set in motion. The first step was Catherine, Brian's boss's wife. It's amazing how much a person can reveal over a glass of wine at a charity event, especially when they have compromising material on your husband. "Can you imagine? Brian pulled off some shady deal." Catherine was furious, but couldn't prove anything. "How unpleasant." I nodded sympathetically. "If only the documents could be found." The documents appeared a week later. They mysteriously ended up on the desk of David, Brian's boss. I didn't even forge Brian's signature. I just took those documents that he signed without reading. The second stage was Emily herself. Her boss, Catherine, turned out to be a surprisingly understanding woman, especially when she found out that her husband was regularly having lunch meetings with one of the employees. How lucky! On that day, I accidentally took a few photos. Emily lost the opportunity for promotion in the company that she had been working on for the past 6 months, along with bonuses and some pleasant aspects related to her reputation. The most interesting things started at Emily's birthday party. I deliberately arrived half an hour late so that all the guests would already be gathered. "Sandra!" Emily rushed to hug me. She smelled of my perfume, the same one I had left at her house a week ago. "Happy birthday, dear." I handed her a large box in pink wrapping. "Thank you. What is it?" She began to unwrap the gift, curiosity alight in her eyes. It was a photo book, the story of a friendship. Read the inscription on the cover. Emily started flipping through, still smiling. Then her smile froze. "What's there?" her mother asked, peering over her shoulder. On the last pages were photos from Brian's mobile phone, the very ones I copied when he was in the shower. There were printouts of their correspondence and hotel receipts. I tried to compile a complete collection. This is Photoshop," muttered Emily, but her face had already turned beet red. "Really?" I looked at Brian. "Maybe you can explain why the dates and times on these photos match your business trips?" And then all hell broke loose. Emily's mother clutched her heart, her father lunged at Brian with his fists, and someone knocked over the snack table. Beautiful! I stepped out onto the balcony, where through the glass I could see Emily crying, smudging her mascara, as Brian tried to explain something, and the guests hurriedly dispersed. "Sandra." Brian stepped onto the balcony, closing the door behind him. "Why? What did you think? That I would perpetually act as if I didn't know?" I flicked off the ash. "That I would eternally pretend. But to create such a scandal—" "Oh, this isn't a scandal yet," I smiled. "The real scandal will start on Monday when your boss receives all the documents about your schemes." Brian turned pale. "You wouldn't dare." "Why wouldn't I?" I took an envelope out of my purse. "Here's the divorce papers. Sign them now, and I might hold on to the other documents." He signed, silently, with trembling hands. Then he asked, "And what now?" "Now, I'm going home, and you can console your new woman." As I left, I heard Emily shouting at Brian, accusing him of all the mortal sins, her mother lecturing him, someone calling the police. It seems Emily's father did get to Brian after all. In the car, I dialed David's number. "Good evening. Remember we talked about those documents? Yes, I have them. Shall we meet tomorrow?" I interrupted him. "Great, and yes, bring your lawyer. It will be an interesting conversation." Is revenge a dish best served cold? Nonsense. Revenge is an art, and I just created my masterpiece. They say success is the best revenge? Lies. The best revenge is when your enemies destroy each other and you just observe. After that memorable birthday, events unfolded like an avalanche. Brian lost his job. Emily faced difficulties at work, and I watched this drama like a theatrical performance. 2 weeks later, Brian called. "We need to talk." "About what?" I was just flipping through a real estate catalog, planning the sale of our apartment. "I've realized everything. Let's try to start over." "You know what's the funniest?" I put down the catalog. "I truly believed you loved me. Even when I saw you with Emily, part of me hoped it was a misunderstanding." "I did love you." "No, dear. You appreciated the comfort I provided you. Now you have neither." I ended the call and poured myself a glass of wine. Outside the window, the rain was falling, and the drops on the glass resembled tears. For some reason, our honeymoon in Paris came to mind, how we ran in the rain, laughing and kissing. Emily showed up a month later, looking haggard, with a dull gaze. She came to our favorite cafe and sat at my table. "Here to ask for forgiveness?" I didn't lift my eyes from the article. "You destroyed my life." Her voice trembled. "No, you destroyed your own life the moment you decided you could deal with your best friend's husband." She was broken and defeated. I finished my coffee, paid, and left her crying alone. At home, I found an old photo album filled with pictures from graduation, the wedding, the ones we loved and cherished. I threw the album into the fire and watched as the flames consumed the pages. The doorbell was unexpected. Emily's father, an aged man, stood at the threshold. "I always considered you a second daughter," he said, "and it pains me to see what happened." Hearing this was painful. For the first time in a long while, tears welled up in my throat. "Child," he paused. "Sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to find your true self." He left, limping like my father. A week later, I moved to Miami, rented a villa by the ocean, opened a real estate agency, and started a new chapter in my life. They say Brian became an alcoholic, and Emily tried to rebuild her life in a new city, and I am enjoying my freedom. Sometimes, watching the sunset from the veranda, I wonder if I should have forgiven them. Maybe revenge made me worse, but then I remember their actions and realize, no. Catherine, Brian's boss's wife, visited me. "You know, you're amazing. I don't think I could have done it." "You could," I replied. "You were just lucky not to have been hurt like that." When I found the photo from that birthday in my old phone, Emily's face in horror, I just deleted it. Does time heal? Not true. Time teaches us to live with scars, and revenge is a reminder that every action has consequences. Did you like the story? Write your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next interesting story. See you tomorrow.